You have those mornings where just opening a jar feels like an Olympic sport, like your hands have just decided it's time for them to retire.
I know the feeling.
Well, what if I told you that could be connected to your gut, specifically ulcerative colitis? We're going deep on that surprising link in this deep dive.
And it's more common than you might think.
Really?
Yeah, we're not just talking about like a little tummy trouble here. Ulcerative colitis is chronic inflammation in the lining of your colon, your large intestine. And studies show that almost a third of people with ulcerative colitis, they also have to deal with joint pain.
So it's not just me blaming my morning coffee for my creaky joints then. Okay, but why? Why are these two things like joint at the hip?
Well, the prime suspect, inflammation. Think of it this way. With ulcerative colitis, your immune system is going a bit haywire in your gut, throwing a party where it shouldn't.
Okay.
And instead of confetti and balloons, it's more like it's throwing punches at your gut lining. Hence all that pain and discomfort.
So the gut is a war zone. Got it. But how does that become achy joints? Does the inflammation like pack its bags and go on a road trip around the body or something?
More like a chain reaction. So your immune system, right, it has these little alarm bells called cytokines.
Mm-hmm.
In a healthy gut, they only go off when there's, a real threat.
Right.
But with ulcerative colitis, it's like those alarms are stuck on repeat, sending out false alarms everywhere. And that can trigger inflammation in other places too, not just your gut, your joints too.
Oh, sneaky. So the same troublemakers are causing trouble in multiple places.
Oh, okay.
But joint pain, it's not all the same, is it? Does the type of joint pain you have matter? Like, will it tell me if it's actually my ulcerative colitis acting up?
Good point. Joint pain has its own little categories too. So imagine your joints like a city map, right? Peripheral arthritis, that's the most common type. It's like rush hour traffic jams. But in your larger joints, so your knees, ankles, wrists.
Okay.
Axial arthritis, on the other hand, that one's like a pileup right in the city center, your spine and your pelvis.
Two different types of pain, two different spots. If I'm getting one over the other, does that make it more or less likely to be, the ulcerative colitis?
It's awesome that you're paying attention to your body like that, trying to connect the dots. But self-diagnosing, kind of like using an old, outdated map to navigate a new city, it might not end well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. Instead, your doctor, that's your GPS, tell them about all your symptoms, especially with the ulcerative colitis history. They're the ones who can really interpret what your body's trying to tell you.
Sound advice. Now, we've covered the why this connection exists, but what about the what now? You're dealing with both ulcerative colitis and joint pain. What can you actually do about it?
This is where things get empowering because it's a multi-pronged approach. And this is important. It's not just about treating the pain. It's about treating you, the whole picture.
I like the sound of that. Tell me more.
So medication is definitely part of the picture. Now, you might reach for ibuprofen for a headache, and this is key, with ulcerative colitis, NSAIDs, they're often avoided. They can make the gut inflammation worse, you see.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we try to avoid those. Instead, often what we use is corticosteroids. They help to calm down that overactive immune response.
Oh, so not a one-size-fits-all approach to pain relief there.
Exactly. And of course, like any medication, there can be side effects, so working closely with your doctor is key. But it's not all about pills. Lifestyle changes, huge, not just an afterthought, a cornerstone of managing this.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What kind of lifestyle tweaks are we talking about here?
Well, remember how we said inflammation is the common denominator? What's good for your gut? Good for your joints, too, often. Eating a balanced diet, plenty of fiber, that can be a game changer.
Fiber, always the overachiever. Good for the gut, good for, it seems like everything. What else?
Don't underestimate movement. And I don't mean training for a marathon. Gentle exercise, like yoga, even regular walks, those can make a world of difference.
So finding ways to move our bodies that feel good and work with our lives. I like it. It's amazing how much little changes can add up. But, we keep talking about inflammation being this like common thread, ulcerative colitis, joint pain. Makes me think about something else we hear a lot about these days, the gut microbiome. Is there a connection there too?
You are so on the right track. That gut microbiome, that's what we call it, that whole community of bacteria living in your gut, it plays a huge role in keeping inflammation in check.
Okay, so is it that certain bacteria are like the troublemakers, stirring up inflammation? Or is it more like the overall balance being off?
It's a bit of both, actually. Research shows that in folks with ulcerative colitis, they often have lower levels of certain good bacteria, like the helpful kind.
Interesting.
And this is where it gets really cool. Some studies are showing that probiotics, those supplements that add good bacteria back in, They might actually help manage both ulcerative colitis symptoms and joint pain.
Wait, so adding probiotics could be like hitting two birds with one stone,
Yeah.
calming things down in the gut and the joints.
It's a promising area for sure. It really highlights how interconnected our bodies are, and there's always a but. It's not as easy as just grabbing any old probiotic off the shelf. Different strains of bacteria, different effects. More research is needed to really nail down the right strains, the dosages. It's definitely something to chat with your doctor about.
Noted. Added to my list. Now, we can't talk about chronic conditions like these without talking about the mental and emotional side too.
Yeah.
It's not just physical, right? It affects your whole life, your mood, everything.
100%. That chronic pain, especially when it's unpredictable, it can really do a number on your mental health. Maybe you have to cancel plans. Maybe even simple tasks are harder.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep goes out the window,
Oh, yeah.
right? It's frustrating. It can make you anxious, even depressed. Acknowledging those feelings, so important. And remembering asking for support, not a weakness, that's a strength.
It's like this ripple effect. The
Yep.
pain starts in one place, but it impacts everything. What would you say to someone listening, maybe feeling overwhelmed by all this, not knowing where to turn?
First of all, you are so not alone in this. Millions of people around the world are dealing with ulcerative colitis, chronic pain. It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And reaching out, that's huge. Talk to your doctor, a therapist. Maybe look into support groups. Those connections can make such a difference. And never, ever underestimate self-care.
It's easy to think we should just power through it all ourselves, but that's not how we're wired.
Right. And self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. Make time for things you enjoy. Being in nature, music, spending time with people you love, taking care of your mental, emotional health. That's just as crucial as the physical stuff, especially with chronic conditions.
It's about the whole picture, not just the parts that feel off. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the sciencey stuff to how to actually manage ulcerative colitis and joint pain. As we start to wrap up here, what are some key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
I think the biggest one, you are your own best advocate. Pay attention to your body. Listen to it. Don't be afraid to talk to your healthcare team, to speak up. You know your experience is better than anyone. Your needs, your voice matters.
I love that. It's easy to feel powerless when it comes to our health, but being involved in your own care, speaking up, that's power right there.
Exactly. And knowledge is power too. The more you understand about all this ulcerative colitis, joint pain, that link between them, the more you're in the driver's seat of your own health journey, making informed decisions.
Absolutely. And you know what else is empowering? Knowing that there's still so much more to learn. Research is always evolving, new breakthroughs all the time.
It's true. It's true. We've really just dipped our toes in the water when it comes to understanding how everything in our bodies, how it all connects and how that impacts our health overall.
It really gets you thinking about what's possible, but it also makes you realize how important it is to stay informed, to be kind of proactive about our health. Speaking of exciting possibilities, I think you had a final thought for us today, right?
I do. We've been talking a lot about the immune system, its role in both of these, ulcerative colitis, joint pain. But here's something to think about. What if, and I know this sounds kind of wild, but what if we could retrain the immune system? Teach it to stop attacking those healthy tissues like it does in UC.
Okay, now that would be a game changer. Going beyond just dealing with the symptoms, but actually addressing the root cause.
Right. And it's early days, but researchers are looking into some really cool stuff. Immunotherapy. There's hope that someday we might be able to personalize treatments for autoimmune stuff like ulcerative colitis, almost like giving your immune system its own instruction manual, tailored just for you.
That's amazing. It really makes you appreciate how far we've come and how much more is out there. It's hopeful.
It is. And that's what I want people to take away from this, hope.
This deep dive has been so eye-opening. I feel like I get it now. Not just the what, but the why behind this whole ulcerative colitis and joint pain connection.
And hopefully the how, too. How to take charge of your health.
To everyone listening, just remember, you're not on this journey alone. And, knowledge is power, sure, but it's what you do with it, right? So keep asking those questions. Keep learning. Keep advocating for your health. Until next time, we'll catch you in the deep dive.